Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and in this episode, first thing, we're going to get back into the aircon system on the Alfarrari. All right, welcome back, guys. For those of you who were watching last week, will have seen that I did a little bit of stuff on 3D printing, and it did seem to go down quite well. A lot of you were quite interested in seeing how simple it was to just design and manufacture basic parts that are quite useful in the car. Lots of suggestions on using ASA instead of ABS, which I do have some. I should have actually try some of that. There's also, I believe there's actually one of the comments on our forum was about using, I think it's called TPU, so I can actually 3D print rubber parts and 3D print custom grommets and things like that, which I've ordered some. I'm going to be getting into that. I think that should be interesting. I think the 3D printing stuff is just so accessible now. I think it's a really great way forward, particularly on sort of small interior trim parts and things like that. I think that's going to be good. So I'm going to be doing a bit more experimenting on that in the future. For those of you who missed it, I'll put a link up above, and you can catch up on that. And please think about subscribing and hitting the bell, letting you know when I've got more of my crazy projects coming up. All right, couple other comments on this. The compressor, thank you very much, guys, for putting your comments forwards. Yes, yeah, it sounds like I could use an inverter, but it's not really a good way to do it. I don't think it's worthwhile. It's just going to be easier just getting a 12-volt compressor. I'll just order one and bite the bullet and do that. The very next thing is that there was some concern about the airflow and the position of the condenser in the back. Obviously, I think there's a lot of people who didn't pay attention to the video when I said I'm going to be putting a fan over the top of it, which is what I'm going to be doing in this episode, and a shroud. So I'm not worried about it getting hit by stones because it's going to be covered by a fan and a shroud. And I think what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to get out the other condenser. I have it here. It's just a matter of buying another fan, so I may as well connect it up. So I'm going to take the other condenser out of the Rockster, and we're going to mount it on the other side of the back of the car, and then we'll start looking at making some covers for the fans. Okay, so now we have a condenser on either side at the back, matching in. That is a nice position for them. So now it's time to start mounting some fans. Okay, so now I have my condenser mounts made up. I need to start making the fan shrouds for them. I've ordered myself the fan. This is a pulling fan, so this is going to sit underneath. So there's going to be plenty of, by the time I've got my my shroud and the fan in there, there's plenty of protection for the fan itself. It's not in the path of the wheels anyway. There is wheel guards there. So I'm not too worried about getting rocks and stuff onto the condensers. So now it's time for a bit more CAD, and we're going to design up and start folding up a couple of fan shrouds. right, that was a whole bunch of work to make up a couple of fan shrouds. So these, to fit my fans. So these are the exact right size to fit my fans to give a nice duct on the top. So now I need to get the fan and mark this on, draw and cut it out, and then I need to start welding up their corners and making it nice and neat. All right, they were definitely not my prettiest welds, so I went through and I just ground back all the corners, and these are looking good. They're nice and done. So let's, I've only got one fan at the moment. I've got to order another one, so let's just bolt it all together and see what it looks like. All right, and there you have it. We have our covers made up. They'll bolt on and hold on by these bolting tabs, the same tabs. It'll bolt through both the core and the cover. You saw I used aluminium riv nuts to hold the fan in. Some of you have questioned before where I use riv nuts. On aluminium, I'm happy enough to use riv nuts, but you can't really weld captive nuts into aluminium, so I'm happy with that. There's going to be people who are going to be complaining about galvanic corrosion. I'm not concerned about it. There's plenty of, the OEM uses it plenty of times. Yeah, I'm quite comfortable doing this. So let's bolt these into the car, and then we can finally move on to something else besides this aircon stuff. All right, and that is looking great. So we've got both of them in. As I said, I've still got to get another fan for this side, but they're in, the shrouds are in, and I think that is going to do the job quite nicely. So let's move on, finally. All right, well, I think it's about time we start actually having a look at the final cosmetics on this car, and start looking at tackling the front end of this. So at the moment, it's been like this the whole time I've owned the car. I've never seen it with lights in it or any grille or anything like that. So I think now it's time to start putting it all together. Now, on this car, I have a bunch of these old lights and stuff that I got with the car, and they were not going to cut it. These are starting to look a little bit old and tired. So I went to Classic Alfa and I ordered myself a whole bunch of nice new chrome light covers, and that's when I started thinking about the grille on this car. Now, this car being a GTV 2000 2-litre had this style grille, so it was the sort of the slot style, which I didn't particularly like, and as many of you will have seen, I've already backdated the tail lights in this car. This car originally had sort of big, wide tail lights, and I've put the smaller tail lights of basically all the cars up until this one had a sort of smaller tail light, which I think looks better. Now, because this car is not a restoration, I am going for the style that I personally like. I decided it would look better with one of these, which is a 1750 grille in the front of it, and now it's time to start sort of bolting all this stuff up, make sure it all fits, because there's nothing worse than completely painting a car, assembling everything, and then you need to change stuff because it doesn't line up. Just because this is all replaced and all should be right, doesn't mean it is. All right, well, a bit of fiddling around. There's a bunch of little plastic clips I need to get to actually screw these into. They're easy to get, and I've got to replace all of the globes. I'm not a fan of what a lot of people seem to do on the resto mods of putting the sort of the halogen looking things in there. I like the original fluted look of the lenses. I think they look much better to me. But now we've got the basic shape here. We still need a grille, and there are a few options that are available, the sort of plastic ones, and the 1750 had like a chrome bar that sort of sat in the middle here going across. I don't want to completely go that way. I'm thinking something custom, but what I'm looking at is I'm thinking just a chrome surround that sits on either side here, and then another one in here. This actually originally had these things that sort of sat in the gap to sort of match in with the center of the grill. I want to recreate my own one and make my own chrome grill. I've never done anything as far as chrome work goes before, so this is going to be interesting. All right, so I've spent a little while now and done a bit of CAD, and I've made up my grill section, the shape that I need to make into these side grills. So let's go over the bench and I'll show you my thoughts on what I'm going to do. All right, and my basic plan for this grill is I just want a chrome trim around in this shape that I'm going to stick on either side of the center heart grill, and I think that's going to look the way I want it to. I said I want it simple, but I've never made anything to be chrome before, but what I'm going to use is I'm going to use this, which is a bit of 6mm square brass rod. What I'm hoping is that I can actually bend it and shape it and make my nice finished piece that I can then send away and get chromed, and it will look like the perfect part of the car. Let's start copying this down and then start looking at sort of cutting out bits and pieces and seeing what we can do to actually make this stuff work. All right, so cutting out the straight bits I need. These are not exactly to size, but that is the easy part. The fun bit is going to be trying to make the curved ends that I want. And I've gone through and sort of found some things. I found this old wheel spacer that I think I might be able to use. It looks like it's a bit similar diameter to that inner curve that I'm looking for. So this curve here, this is pretty close to that. So I'm going to see if I can clamp on a bit of this brass rod and see if we can bend it around and start trying to make these curves that I'm looking for. All right, that actually bent quite nicely. So I ended up using the brake disc that I had lying around because I sort of thought that would be the case, but I wanted to try it on something that was the right diameter first. But of course, it springs back. So using the tighter diameter of the brake disc has got me a pretty good match for the curve that I was looking for. I'm quite happy with that result. So I'm going to cut this off now, and then we need to probably use this outer edge of the disc to try and make the larger curve. Okay, so you can see here I've laid out my grill piece. I've got the curves exactly as I want them. You can see the line is just tucking all the way around the outside. It's a really, really good fit. I'm going to round these corners off afterwards, but now it's time to try and join them all together. All right, so I've got my basic shape of my grill piece here, but now I want to join them all together. So there are a couple of ways that people do join this stuff together. People do silver solder them or something like that. I have no experience or equipment to do that. What I am going to be doing is I'm going to be using the WeldForce TIG to TIG braze it together using, this is silicon bronze TIG rod. And just show you here, I've just been doing a couple of little test runs, and it's not the easiest thing to use because you're not welding it like normal, where you melt the base material and sort of melt the filler rod into the base. This is more, you're in theory trying to just melt this rod, and this will melt over both things. So you can use this to actually join dissimilar metals. It's almost like gluing them together, if you like. You melt this in the middle. What I found though is maybe it's because this is brass and so is this, that it's sort of basically almost needs to melt the base before it will actually sort of flow into it. You can sort of see here, this is the first sort of test run I've done and join these things together. But you can see if I, where I've ground it back, it's all nice and yeah, it comes out as one cohesive piece. It's all the same color, which doesn't really matter in this case because we're going to get it chromed. But you can sort of see that you can actually join this stuff together nicely. So I've got a couple of little beveled edges here to give me some sort of space to sort of fill into. So now it's time to clean it all up, make sure it's all immaculate, and then we're going to try and braze it all together. And here we go. We have my grill piece. Now it's still hot. Obviously there's big ugly lumps on the corners, but they'll sort of grind down, and ultimately that is the shape that I was looking for. So now let's make a second one, and then we can have to think about how I'm going to actually mount it to the car. All right, so we have our two chrome grills that sit in there very nicely. Now the next thing is going to be working out how to actually mount them to the car. That is going to be a bit more of a challenge. All right, I have one side completely done. I've got a range of these odd looking mounts on the ends. They're not welded up very nicely. They're just sort of initially there. I can go through and tidy them up. Yeah, it's a matter of I can just add a bit more like silicon bronze and filler to it and shape these things to get them just right. But the basic shape is there, so now we need to fit them up and make sure they're actually going where they're supposed to. All right, and we have my grill mounted up. There's still some adjustability in here to get all the gaps just right. Like you can see, there's a bit of space around the this headlight over on this side that needs to be done, but that is great. They're nice and symmetrical. They're sitting like, I am quite happy with that. As always, that was a lot of work and a lot of time spent on that, but I am quite happy with the result, and I think it's going to work well moving forward. But that is definitely all the time I have, so I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, after World War II, Lancia had built a reputation for innovative road cars, despite its founder Vincenzo Lancia being an avid racer. His son Gianni, however, could not resist the thrills of racing and appointed Vittorio Giano to design a race car for Lancia. Lancia's first ever Formula One race car debuted in 1954, and it was unlike anything else on the grid. Giano's design used a double overhead cam V8 which sat very low and was used as a stressed member of the chassis. The engine was also set at an angle so the drive shaft could run alongside the driver, getting the centre of gravity very low in the car. Giano also developed pannier-style fuel tanks which sat on either side between the wheels. This greatly improved the balance and the aerodynamics of the car, while their competitors were still using the rear fuel tanks, which affected the handling of the cars. Alberto Ascari piloted the car to a few victories before his death, which ended up forcing Lancia to sell its struggling Formula One program to Ferrari. Ferrari renamed the car the Ferrari Lancia D50, and in a slightly modified form, it went on to win the 1956 World Championships, driven by Juan Manuel Fangio.
All right, guys. Well, today we have another episode of Mail Time, and this time we have got a package from Harry Bekas in Greece. So Harry, I was actually talking to online a bit and sent him a copy of my Alfarrari logo for him to play around with, and he has gone through and laser cut me some fantastic Alfarrari logos. So this is, as you can see, it's got a bunch of holes in it, and those holes are so that I can either drill or weld the front plates on. So he's cut out these front plates that stick over the top, so that basically we've got the complete logo, and then it sort of steps back all the little joiners to make it all one thing, and I can join them all on individually and then chrome these and have some fantastic Alfarrari logos. I am very happy with the results of these. These are very cool. Thank you very much, Harry. And if any of you guys have got anything you want to send through to me to put up my sticker wall or whatever, from wherever you are, from wherever in the world, we'd like hearing from you. You can send them through to Home Built by Jeff, PO Box 1520, Bowral, New South Wales 2576, Australia. All right, guys, thanks. All right, it's definitely a big moment when I can finally put the heart grill in the center of the car. It really feels like it's getting there. It's obviously these grills either side have got to have some mesh, and I've got to do these other little ones, and there's lots of there's still many finishing touches to do on them, but they'll get there. I'm not going to rush, but I'm quite happy with how the silicon bronze brazing turned out. I'm quite happy with that.
It looks sort of a bit steampunk. Actually.
At the moment, yes.
Yeah. It does.
It's not exactly what I was going for,
no.
but yeah.
You better take your time on those details. I think we've learned that.
Yes, exactly. All right.
Okay. Please like and subscribe if you want to leave a comment for Jeff. And we've decided he's not going to cut his hair. He's just going to let it do its thing.
I'm just going to keep growing it until I can finally get it out of lockdown.
Just embrace it.
Yes. make sure if you want to watch videos a day early, join us on Patreon. It does help us out, and
Get to watch them without ads.
that's it. All right. See you
bye,
next
Ron.
time.
Lancia had built a reputation for building innovative road cars. Resist the thrills of racing, however, and appointed Vittorio Giano to describe a race car between the wheels, greatly improving the balance and aerodynamics. Giano ordered with Juan Manuel Fangio at the wheel.
Yes.
No.
Juan Manuel Fangio.